Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Yeah, let's do it.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. I've got the pleasure of having Mr. Ricky Morgan in the house. How you doing, my brother?
Good, man. Excited to be on the show and talk to my boy.
So, guys, we apologize ahead of time. Ricky's wearing a big jacket. You can't see how ripped he is. You can't see the work this guy's been putting in. That's his company he's wearing. But you're crushing it in real estate, wholesaling, not even in the state that you live in. You're crushing it in your health and your overall schedule. But I've seen pictures of how you started, and I've seen that this wasn't the case. So if you could start your story back before all the real estate and everything, and just describe to me where you were, what you were doing, and then we'll kind of work through how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, totally. So I would say it probably started back in 2015. I graduated college. I went to Rutgers, got a business degree. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, but just kind of always, I think, had in the back of my mind, I kind of wanted to do my own thing. I was motivated by money and success, but just never really put it all together. So after college, I was applying for jobs, got a job out in Scottsdale. I was living in New Jersey at the time, and I kind of had nothing holding me there. So I wanted an adventure, moved out to Scottsdale, started working at Yelp. Just took a corporate sales job, and I was pretty successful there for about 4 years. I moved up in kind of sales roles and management, but then I kind of got to this point in late 2017 where, I realized that I was doing well at Yelp and I was making decent money there, but I wanted more, and I saw the other people at Yelp that were doing well and the positions I could move up into. And I realized just corporate America after 4 years was not for me. The 9-to-5 lifestyle was just not really for me. So I kind of started getting on this, reprogramming of myself, I would say, it started in late 2017, where I started reading a lot of self-development books, started to try to really figure out, to your podcast, construct, your life as far as I knew the life I wanted, which was one that, I was my own boss. I could kind of make my own hours, be in control of my income and things like that. So I think it started there of just, me just deciding to, read. It was the first time I ever read a book for myself in my whole life. I went to school my whole life, never read any of the books the teachers told me to. And I think in 2017, about midway through 2018, I read about 50 books, all just self-development, mindset type of books. And I think that really kind of reprogrammed and started kind of shifting my mindset in business, fitness, just life in general, of just expecting more from myself,
Well, and it's so funny because I did a podcast on this yesterday that I recorded about, you can read all the books about real estate or how you're going to change your business, but it truly starts with how you feel about yourself, but more importantly, a mind shift to understand that there's something more that you could be doing, because we're conditioned to go get the job, and you had a good job and you live in a great state, and you could easily continue to do that for the next 10 years. So where do you think the big aha moment was for you?
I think it was I was in Yelp, doing well. I was making six figures. I was making more money than I thought I was going to be making. I thought at that point, that's what I wanted. I was working so hard to get into this management role, and I finally got that. And then when I got there and started making decent money, I realized I still just wasn't happy. And I think I realized that kind of not building my own thing was never going to be quite for me. So I think that's kind of where it started. As far as there, I had no idea. Now at this time, I had no idea about real estate. I knew nothing about real estate. Never even thought about real estate in my whole life. But I knew the life that I did want for myself. So I think it was kind of getting to that realization. To your point, I was comfortable. I had a good job. I could have probably still been there for the next 10 years, kind of moved up the corporate ladder. But it's kind of, it's kind of a trap almost, right? The way corporate America is set up.
Mm-hmm.
The longer you stay at a company, the more stock shares they give you, and, they increase your base salary and make it really comfortable. So I was kind of right at that point of where I felt like I matured enough as a person where I was ready to do my own thing. I think in my younger days, I wouldn't have been ready to just have my own business. So I think it was good that I started in corporate America and got that experience. Really got a good basis of learning how to sell and do sales. I think that's important kind of in whatever avenue you're doing in business. So I felt like I had a good foundation at that point. I kind of had some money saved away. And then I was like, okay, it's time to really figure out, how you're going to leave this job and never have to, go get another job, leave here and start your own thing and start building from that.
And it's super important. I want to make sure that when we talk from here on out in the story that we can highlight this, because I've met so many people in the last, Burr being one of them, Devin Burr and other guys that I coach that, or I know that literally when he's saying he had no idea about real estate, no idea. And I'd love to hear how you found out about it or how that kind of started, because when you understand, the story will tell itself how much he's done in a short amount of time.
Right. So I guess now we're probably fast forwarding right around 2018, diving into all these books and mindset books and self-development books. I would say the one that really turned me on to real estate was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Like probably a lot of real estate investors, I feel like that's kind of like their first book where it's kind of like that aha moment of, just the concept of passive income and investing into, real estate and properties to kind of offset, having to exchange your time for money and having properties make money for you. So I love that idea. So it was kind of then like a law of attraction, weird type of thing. I just started after Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was like, okay, I think real estate's a good avenue. And I kind of went on Google and I was like, what do successful people usually do? And it's like all these roads kind of led to, people that lived the lifestyle I wanted, that made the money I want to make. Real estate was, for a lot of these people, a big part of it. Even if it wasn't the main thing that they were doing, most people at least owned real estate. So I was getting into that. And then my old buddy from college called me up and was like, hey, do you know anything about real estate in Phoenix? Like completely out of the blue. I didn't talk to him in probably 2 years since I moved out here. And I was like, yeah, like I just started getting into real estate. We started talking and he had like 20 rental properties in New Jersey. And I was like, holy shit, dude. Like I talked to you 2 years ago. Like you weren't even in real estate. Like we were just, drinking beers at the bar. Like how'd you get from there to, where you are today with 20 rentals? So I think he helped me out a lot, which, I would have never guessed at the time, but he's actually my current business partner now in Savannah Properties. Savannah is actually Steve's child's name, and that's kind of how he came up with it. But I would have never kind of, guessed at the time that I would have transitioned from just kind of talking real estate to him from that phone call to where we are today. And I think because of him, that was like that, oh shit, this is real. Like I could do this. Like I remember Steve was a normal dude. He was like me. Like if he could do it, why can't I? So I think a lot of the times, you need that proof of concept or, that friend that you talk to that's actually doing it. And you realize that, hey, if they're doing it, if I do kind of the same things and put in the work, I could do it too.
I just laugh because I do about 8 calls a day, especially on Wednesdays. And it's amazing the line that draws through all of the conversations are the same thing. We just had this talk. And see if you agree with me or not. I think it's almost more important on 2 levels. One, the confidence from executing and doing a deal opposed to the dollar amount you're making / having somebody that personally in your life that you can attach yourself to say, well, fuck, if they can do it, I can do it. I think those 2 things are you can't quantify those 2 things.
Yeah. It's like initially, I think it's like the reading and learning. It's like, that's good. But then, that's kind of, that starts gaining some confidence for yourself. But I don't think it really comes in until you start doing deals. You start making money and you're like, oh shit, like this is real life. I'm starting to do this. And I think that kind of happened. So I bought a rental property when I was still working at Yelp, and it was cash flowing well, and it was good. But I realized, I would need a lot of these rental properties to supplement my income. So that's kind of when I was looking to other ways to make money in real estate. And that's where kind of wholesaling came up. Being in Phoenix, so many of the big wholesale guys and gurus and stuff are out here. So I was pretty fortunate to be able to go to a lot of these meetups, like Steve Trang's meetup, Real Estate Disruptors. Shout out to those guys. They've helped me a bunch, and some other investors in town, of just kind of learning wholesaling and understanding kind of that's where we started, just finding discounted properties from sellers. And it's like, if you can figure out and get really good at that, the rest kind of makes sense, and just kind of, if you find discounted properties, you can screw up a lot of other things and still make money in real estate. So I focused on just getting really, really good at that. And we did our first deal, I guess, the end of 2019. We did our first wholesale deal. It was probably one of our most complicated deals.
How'd you find it?
We found it. This came in from a cold call. So I was doing like all the cold calling. I would go on a 8-line dialer, and I would just rip cold calls for like 6-8 hours a day. After I left Yelp, for about 6 months, all I did was just cold call, just talk to sellers, no deals for about 6 months after I left Yelp. But I was focusing every day on just doing, no matter how much rejection I was getting, and I think my experience at Yelp kind of helped me with that. I just kept talking to sellers. We finally found, I think we made like 5 or 10K off it. But it was just like complicated assignment deal. It's like the first deals are always, I feel like, the most work. But at the same time, I think that work is so good for you early on, because it really gives you that experience of like working through deals and seeing, why was this deal good? How could we kind of find better deals in the future? But once we did that, man, it was like, and I made a couple bucks, and then I did a deal out here by myself with Templeton. We did a deal, like a quick, like 5K wholesale. So once I kind of made some money a few months after I left Yelp, and I got those wholesale checks in, I kind of finally got to the point where I was like, not worried about finding another job, and like, okay, this is going to work. This is something that I can make money in. How can we continue to build this up?
Something I want to hit on, and I'm going to touch a couple things in that story, but I think this is super important. What were you telling yourself in those 6 months that you were cold calling like a champ and not getting any deals? How did you stay focused? Was it truly the avenue of you quit your fucking job and you need to figure it out? Or was it like, I'm young enough, this is the path I'm going, and I'll figure it out?
Yeah, like I think I gave myself enough time, and I kind of set myself up for success when I left Yelp. I think some people get really frustrated in their current position, and all of a sudden they're just like, screw it, I'm quitting. No real game plan, maybe not money saved up. They don't really know. They just know that they're not happy there. And I wasn't happy at Yelp, but I planned for about 6 months that this is what I was going to do. So I was preparing myself mentally, getting in a good place. I think, going to fitness, I think that helped me a lot too, of just my life at that time. It felt like so many things I wasn't in complete control of. And I felt like fitness kind of put me on that track of, if you just do the daily tasks every single day and stay consistent and do what needs to be done, results will show, but it's not overnight. I think a lot of people.
No, and you're the king at this, because like, guys, if I had a picture of Ricky before and now, like, you wouldn't even believe what, like, 8-pack, the whole nine, but you weren't this way. And so talk about what you always talk about with me is like, really divorce yourself from the results and just focus on the day in, day out consistency.
Yeah. It's like, it's not overcomplicated. I think that's like with success in general. It's like people don't want to do the main things that they got to do on a daily basis to hit the results. Everyone is looking for kind of like the easy fix, like for fitness. I talk to so many people, and, they've seen my kind of transformation and they ask me about it. And the first thing they always want to do is talk about like supplements or, specific workouts and all these things. And I'm like, dude, until you are training really, really hard every day and training harder than yesterday and paying attention to your diet, the rest of the shit doesn't really matter. Because if you can't do those main things on a consistent basis, everything else kind of goes out the window. So for me, I just got really good at no matter, how I felt that day or what I was doing. I knew me getting in my workout every single day was something that I was in complete control of. There was no one that could stop me from doing that. Or, as far as dieting and paying attention to what I was eating, that was something that I could control, how much I ate. So I just think it was like doing those daily things every single day. I mean, I'm talking now probably 2 years. I probably missed, 5 workouts maybe and a couple days of eating, but like literally just consistency, I think is the key to success. And I think it could be in fitness and business, coming up with like a good game plan and then just sticking to it. And I think for me, at least, that's I'm not a very stressed out person in general, but I think it comes from just knowing if you're doing the work on a daily basis and you're doing the things that need to be done, there's not a lot to worry about if you know that you're putting in the work.
No, and I'm going to go in a deep dive here for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I interviewed Justin Colby last week in your area. Dude's a fucking he's a killer. He's done like 1,800 deals. He said something to me. He said a lot of shit to me that blew me away, a lot of counterintuitive thinking. But he says we as people need to take some time to be selfish. And I thought, what a counterintuitive. But what he meant by that was this. We have to take time to create disciplines in our life. We're so quick to get in a relationship or do something else, like to find out who we are as people. And through you working out every day and that consistency, you're finding out the values and the things that drive you every day instead of clouding it up with somebody else's opinion. You as a person, I find to be so disciplined in your daily task. And I really think that's what sets you apart from a lot of people because you're so laser focused. And I find you to be a person that really doesn't let other things like shiny objects and all those things get in your way. And it's really, I think, a benefit to how far you've come in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. And I think it stemmed from like at the, I guess kind of where it started, like end of 2019, I think was probably like my like rock bottom, like my whole life. Like, I think it was finally, when I was younger, I was just like a kid, didn't really worry about anything. I figured everything would just work itself out. And then, like I said, I got to the point in my job where I was frustrated. I got out of a bad relationship I wasn't happy with. I wasn't making the money I wanted to. I felt like there was so much more I could do, and I wasn't accomplishing those things yet. So it was kind of frustrating. I felt kind of out of control of things. So kind of the fitness thing really kind of fueled me to build that discipline and build that not breaking promises to yourself, like making a promise to yourself and then executing on it and being disciplined. And I think when you start doing that consistently in different aspects of life and you keep, sticking to those promises you make to yourself, it builds real confidence. It's not just kind of that fake confidence that you might see. It's like, you're putting in the work and now it's like, okay, if I come up with a good game plan, no matter what it is, and I stick to it, I'm going to start seeing results. And I think that's where a lot of people, they'll get on a diet for a couple months, see some results, but then they kind of revert back to their old habits. And then they don't develop that real confidence in themselves because they never really get to that point of like, you know what, like, I love the days when I wake up like hungover, not feeling like I want to work out or do anything. And then I wake up, crush the workout, and it's like, I just made that workout my bitch. Like I freaking, earned that today. And those are the days where you feel like really good. And I think that builds the momentum of letting like the hard days are the ones that really define kind of your momentum and kind of where you're going.
I truly believe, Andy Frisella tells this, I think it's the difference between being a millionaire and a billionaire than not. I really do. On the days that you don't want to do it. Guys, I was an alcoholic for 20 years, way overweight. And I wish I looked like a shit brick house right now. I think I look pretty good for where I've come.
Yeah,
But
dude. You're
even
looking good, man. You're
thanks.
catching me.
But even me, right? Because I'm older, so
Yeah.
I'll be 39. To go from when in my 20s I could have just like had an 8-pack and bounced back. This has been a 2.5 year, which is never going to stop process, and you have to remove your thoughts on what you need to look like or the weight or anything, and just do it, because in the act of doing it, you're going to create the habits and create the confidence in yourself that allows you to do this. I mean, I'd like to lose another 20
Sure.
pounds.
Yeah.
But I'm going to show up every day regardless of what I look like or whatever thing, because it doesn't matter to me, because I've removed myself from that. And it's super important. But a point I want to also hit in that story you told, because I heard it on the golf course last time we golfed. That deal with Templeton might have only been $5K.
Yeah.
But who did you meet during that? You met Devin.
Yeah,
Burr.
I met Devin, who's one of my good buddies, and I know you know Devin too.
Yeah.
And I met Templeton, and that got me into probably how I met you almost, you know, and some other people within my real estate realm. So yeah, it's like you got to put yourself in those positions sometimes. It's not always about even that deal. Like I probably could have took it down myself and, you know, maybe made more money on it, but it was important to me Templeton was someone in town that I really wanted to build a connection with. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I kind of felt like it was an opportunity that I could bring value to him mm-hmm. and kind of build that connection instead of, you know, just reaching out and saying, hey, Tim, can we grab coffee, without bringing any value to him?
Well, look, I don't give a shit if this rubbed people the wrong way. It's not what you were doing, but in essence is what you were doing. That is a man that has a business, and he's a man with a family who's very busy. You weren't paying your way in, but in essence, you were paying your way in value.
Right.
And it's super important to people just want me to give them things, or they want to ask you for things. But you have to add something to the relationship. And then if something blossoms from that, then great. But you have to almost work your way in with either effort or like truly giving them value to want to dig deeper into the relationship.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. You know, it's always the hardest stage of when, you know, you haven't done too much and you don't have a ton of value to bring to high level types of people, but you got to find a way to kind of maneuver in there. And, you know, I think it just comes back to like, you know, doing the hard work and grinding through those deals and trying different marketing. And then, you know, when those situations come up, to be ready to kind of act on it.
And we'll go at the end to go to the front. So you started how long ago in real estate from your first wholesale?
First wholesale was September of 2019. So about a year ago. Yeah.
Almost to the date. How many deals have you done in a year?
Yeah. So this year we'll probably finish with 20 deals mm-hmm. for about $500K in revenue.
And how many flips?
Right now, so we have 3 residential flips going on right now. One just hit the market, and we have 2 more about to hit the market. So we kind of started doing small wholesales over, you know, in Jersey, all virtually for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, this year we bought a deal in California. We bought a deal in North Carolina. We bought a deal in Ohio. And now kind of the second half of the year, we've been really focusing on residential flips in New Jersey to kind of just, you know, the market's been pretty hot. It's a good time to kind of flip right now. Mm-hmm. So we've been focused more on that to try to squeeze out, you know, bigger deal value than necessarily quantity. You know, we'd rather do 2 deals a month and make $100K off those than do, you know, 20 deals a month and make $100K and be grinding, you know, all day long. So we've kind of been trying to focus on maximizing profits on mm-hmm. each deal. That's kind of why we transitioned to flipping.
And I apologize, most of my listeners, even though I do love real estate, we never talk about real estate. But we're for a couple minutes, we're going to talk about it because I know a lot of young kids. So everybody says, and look, guys, when we talk about this, he's got a partner in New Jersey, so that's why it's doable. But let's talk about the fears associated around you living in Arizona and doing deals in New Jersey, and let's talk about how you're executing on the wholesales and what you set up to operate this.
Yeah. I mean, for instance, like I would say we just did a deal in North Carolina last month. We made about 20K off it. We just bought it, I think, for like 80 and then sold it for like 100.
How'd you find the buyer?
Came in through cold calling. So we pulled lists of vacant properties in a bunch of kind of like B-class towns around the country. And we would just hit them with marketing. So this came in through a cold call lead. Mm-hmm. Guy just kind of had a family house, wanted to sell, worked out a deal. And then this was all virtual. So neither of us have ever even been to Winston-Salem where the deal was. So we never saw the house. We got it under contract at a price that seemed to make sense. Ran comps off of, we used PropStream to run comps. So we did that. And then we actually paid a home inspector like $400 to go get a full inspection. And we're happy we did that because he came back and there was like major foundation issues. We went back to the seller. I got a 15K price reduction. And that really made the deal because we made about 20K on it. So it would have been tight if we didn't get that reduction. So, but that was the deal where neither of us had ever been there. I think a lot of people's fears are, they overcomplicated a little bit too much of, this was a property that was in a really nice neighborhood in a super hot market. It sold in about 3 or 4 days with, foundation issues.
How'd you find the buyer?
We just listed it on Zillow for sale by owner. So quick tip, I think a lot of people.
Is that allowed? Talk to me.
Yeah. So we didn't wholesale this deal. So depending if you're wholesaling it and you have an assignable contract, you could put, authorization to market in your contract, and you could then do something like put it on Zillow, but you do want to be careful if you're wholesaling of where to put it. But this property and what we kind of did when we started, we were wholesaling because we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have private funds, stuff like that. So you could make a bunch of money without having your own money, which is cool. But now we really don't wholesale and we just take down everything ourselves. It's just a lot easier of a conversation of us taking control of the property, and then we could let in whoever we want now that we own the property.
So I'm understanding.
Yeah.
You have a little capital now. So technically you would hand that seller, I guess now we'd be at 65,000. You would execute the close of that property. Right. And then you would reopen it to sell it again, unlike a wholesale where you would never give them the money and just get 30 days to execute, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we've done that with like 3 deals this year. 4 deals actually, where we just immediately bought and closed and then just resold. We didn't do any rehab. So I guess you could kind of look at it
how do you escape the closing cost parameter? Because wouldn't you lose your money by closing on it twice?
Yeah, so we do eat the extra closing costs sometimes. But the way we look at it is like on some of these deals, like for instance, early in the year, like we had this one in Jersey, we bought and then sold 2 days later and made 80 grand on it. Like we didn't want to put that deal in a position where it might fall apart, where if we were trying to get sneaky and assign it, then maybe the buyer gets skittish, or maybe another investor comes in and, screws up the deal or says something. So like we just try to get it under contract and close as quickly as possible. And a lot of the other people trying to get the deal are wholesaling. So we'll kind of use that to our advantage sometimes if we're actually closing, of saying like, hey, look, here's our own money. We are the buyer. We're not going to assign this to someone else, because a lot of the times, the ones, especially in New Jersey, a lot of people are contracting things too high. Deals are falling apart, not closing. So we kind of come in when you have your own private money, it makes it a little easier than wholesale deals to get across the finish line and get buyers to agree with, because you have less clauses. We don't have assignment in our contracts. Our contracts are literally 1 page long, super simple. We're just buying it cash as is, no inspections. We walk the property once. So it kind of puts us in an advantage if there's 3 or 4 investors and a couple of them are just strictly wholesaling, that, we could put down, $5,000 non-refundable earnest money, just like that. When a wholesaler might not be able to do that. So I think as you build capital, it gets a little easier. to start taking down deals.
Something very interesting. I don't know why I'd never thought of this. I guess I did. I didn't cross my mind. By hiring an inspector to go out, and you're doing this virtually, not only is he going to tell you what's wrong with the property, he's also going to give you pictures for your $400. So it's kind of a win-win, right?
Yeah. So we used it that way too. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you try going for a price reduction and for no reason, the seller is kind of like, 4 days before closing, you're just like, hey, we need it cheaper. You don't really have a good why. But with this inspection report, it was like he walked the house with the inspector. The inspector pointed out like, oh, this basement foundation doesn't look too good. He never really knew that. So he was much more willing to agree. And he was cool about it. He's like, yeah, totally. Like, I didn't tell you about that foundation issue. So I would tell, kind of quick tip, I don't know if a lot of people are doing it, but we would always do it for any virtual deal that we can't walk, is pay the $400 or $500 for the home inspector, because that netted an extra $15K for us. Yeah. Compared to if we would have took it down and then all of our buyers would have been like, hey, the foundation's falling apart. We would have been kind of much more worried about it. It would have been a lot tighter. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Home inspector, or if you know an agent or someone in the area, but you definitely got to get someone on the grounds in the house, I think, before you get under contract, especially if you're going to take it down. If you're going to wholesale it and the house is empty, it's less risk for you, but we're taking down these deals ourselves. So if we're going to put our own capital on the line or private money on the line, we want to make sure that the house isn't falling apart. It's totally worth paying, $400 or $500 for an inspector, pay the closing costs, take control of the property, so then we can do what we want with it.
No, and I hope everybody heard that, guys, because we just saved you hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's worth the price of the emission alone on the podcast. But something that's super important, I am fucking guilty of this, so I'll call myself out. When you are executing contracts with investors that you're trying to close properties with, there is same in multifamily, there is a reputation that can grow as a company that can get you deals done quicker. And what I mean by that is do enough work on the front end. So when you're executing the buy for an investor who is busy buying multiple properties, that the execution of the contract can go as seamless as possible. You want to remove all friction from deals. Wouldn't you agree?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the times that's what kind of breaks up deals. And I think one of the big things I see in wholesaling that people struggle with is they're so excited to just try to get things under contract that, they don't talk to the seller that they're going to need to show multiple buyers this deal. The fact that there's kind of setting the wrong expectations, or they're not looking deep enough into comps. Like, I think we were golfing a couple months ago and I was making some jokes. Someone sent me a deal and, they're like, here's the comps. And I'm like, dude, these houses were built 100 years ago. And the house we're talking about is new. It's like, this is like in a different town. It's like, dude, this is not even a comp. Like, this is irrelevant. And so I think from that part is, I think wholesalers, first starting out, get really, really good at identifying actually what a deal is. Yeah. Because then also then when you do connect with buyers like us now, we see the legit wholesalers and the guys doing it the right way and getting deals for the right price, and the guys that aren't. And the guys that aren't and are doing the things the wrong way and contracting too high and kind of being just a little deceiving in how they're contracting it. Short-lived. They're ruining it for kind of like the rest of the industry with guys like us who are actual closers. Never put a seller in a bad position where it's like a lot of these people, it's the biggest financial thing they've ever done in their life is this sale of this home. And, you got to just be mindful of that. If that is the situation of you are going to execute on what you're telling them to do and not get yourself in a position where you contracted at too high of a price, but the sellers think it's closing. And then you go to try to sell the deal and buyers are telling you it's too high, it's this or that. And then, these sellers were planning on getting that money, putting into their next property or something like that. So always look at the situation, I think, when you're contracting these deals. if it's a vacant house that's been sitting in the middle of Mobile, Alabama for the last 10 years, and you contract that a little high and can't sell it, it's not a big deal, right? That house is sitting there anyway. That guy didn't really care. But if all of a sudden it's a house that people are living in, they need the money for their next house or something like that, I think that's where, this industry definitely needs to tighten up a little bit of making sure that we are contracting good deals and we are executing on deals. So then, it's everyone's getting exactly what they're promised, and there's nothing bad about it.
And more importantly, you're going to save everybody a lot of headaches if you're just truthful and honest from the beginning, meaning you and your time and so on and so on. Because I almost want to start a wholesale company because I can't stand the way that most of them do business. It's not that I really want to do a wholesale, but like me, okay, I'll give you a perfect fucking example. You are going to lose your shit when I tell you this story. I haven't even told you this shit. So there's this guy I met who wholesales multifamilies, and he's new to it, whatever. He gives us a $30 million 204 unit apartment complex for wholesale in Austin. It's actually a decent deal. Hands it to me. I've got guys that can close on that. Hands it to me, and then in 30 minutes texts me and is like, "You want to put an offer on it?" I'm like, "Bro, it's $30 fucking million. The down payment is $10 million. What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah,
and that's why I can't stand wholesalers, because they pressure me. I can't stand that shit.
Yeah, and it's just like he clearly doesn't fully like understand how shit works. And it's like, if you're gonna do a deal like that, like, you better be a month. Yeah. And that's why I always tell people too, it's like, start out wholesaling the shitty little property outside of Austin that's just vacant, that you can maybe contract for 20 grand and sell it for 22. And if you don't sell it, no one gets hurt with it. But then you learn and you see how the deal works. It's like, I'll see people that never really done a deal, and it's like they're trying to wholesale some like crazy multifamily giant, deal. It's like, dude, you haven't even, you don't even understand how all this works and the levels involved to it.
But more importantly, and I'm going to say this to every young fucking investor. I'm going to say this as clear as I fucking can, because it matters. When you're entering the space of 500K and above and multifamily buyers, you get one opportunity to not look like a fucking retard. These are sophisticated buyers that have real money that will close these properties. But by you looking and not having your shit together, you're going to set yourself up where it might be a long time before you get another opportunity.
No, yeah, I agree. Even I mean, even like I'm pretty hard on wholesalers. Like in New Jersey, I have a lot of wholesalers try to send me deals because we're one of the biggest cash buyers over there right now for residential flips, and I'll be pretty hard on them and give them like very specific feedback of, this is not a deal. No one's going to buy this deal. Here's what you did wrong. Here's the price you needed it for. Here's why. And I do that just because I want them to learn and really get an understanding, because I know they're not trying to, but I think people get too caught up with like social media and things of like wanting to, I did 50 deals this month. I got 100 deals under contract. It's like, you got 100 deals under contract and you sold 2 for like $2,000 each and you made $5,000. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather do 2 deals a month and make 100 and do it the right way and execute on all my deals. So I think sometimes new investors just get too caught up in contracting just things that aren't deals, because it is hard to find deals. It is, but you got to be disciplined and really learn how to identify that. I think early on, like I said, it was better that I went 6 months of not just kind of, maybe I can make this deal work. To really, not ruin my reputation and not put a lot of sellers in bad situations. So I think when you're new, you just got to really, really make sure of that. And I think a good way to do that is talking to local buyers where you're wholesaling. You got to talk to them, because here's the thing. I live in Phoenix, right? I have, all my friends here flip. The expectation for like Bert, if he wants to do a flip, if he can make 25 grand on it, he's cool with that. And a lot of flippers in Phoenix, because you can do a lot of deals, they're totally fine with making 25 grand. But in New Jersey, for instance, people want bigger spreads because there's less deals, so people want bigger spread. Taxes, right? More holding costs. So we need to buy deeper in New Jersey. So I see a lot of people like kind of, doing these like math formulas, which I think are kind of crap. Like it's a very baseline. Same with like fitness. Like, you can do like calorie calculator, but like that doesn't know your metabolism and your body, how you burn and things like that. So it's like take those things with a grain of salt and use it as a baseline, but you need to be talking to the actual buyers in that area. Because for instance, like in New Jersey, things like flood zones and, the year was built and, septic or, not public sewage and things like some of these things, underground oil tanks. These are all issues that we face in New Jersey that are slightly different than the issues that people face in Arizona and Phoenix. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of the times if you are going to go virtual, it's okay, but you got to really get good at, knowing what people buy there, how they buy, and not just kind of use this, 70% of ARV minus wholesale, minus repair costs and things like that, and really learn from actual buyers in those markets so you can get good at working backwards and identifying those deals.
No, and 100%. And I'll tell you, this is the most simple analogy I can use. In Canyon Lake, New Braunfels, Texas, you don't have to pull any permits. The day that you close the deal, you can be pushing dirt. So a buyer on that end is going to be okay with some holding cost. If you were to do the same deal in California, it might be 1.5 to 2 years before you can get plans approved. Well, guess what? Those holding costs are going to be 100% different. So by you just putting a deal in a box, you are not setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up for failure, and you're going to look stupid. It's so simple.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing that I really would like to drive home, like the new investors. I know you have a lot of those kind of tune in that are trying to get into it. It's just, become a professional and don't worry about, looking cool on IG. And it's like this industry of like all these gurus and stuff. Like it's good, but it's getting it's easy to just kind of think like it's about just like getting deals under contract and just like slanging them instead of like really honing in on the craft and being a professional and like understanding the nuances of these things. It's like you'll hear it's like, oh, wholesaling is not about real estate. It's like it still is about real estate. You still got to understand, or if you don't know it particular and you're really good at marketing, then you got to be able to communicate with buyers that do know their shit from the real estate aspect to make sure you're finding them exactly what they're looking for, contract and right deals. And I think once you start doing that and you start finding good deals, the rest just kind of starts working out for yourself and you start making money, and then you get your own money and you start buying your own deals.
And what I want to ask you before we get out of here is, how old are you?
28.
28. You've made, we won't count your money, but you've had a good year. You've done 20 plus wholesales. But what I noticed the last time we were together is now, because you have a good base of financial independence and those deals are going to keep coming, I noticed that your mindset on long-term wealth or what you're going to continue to do has definitely shifted. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's like, I think it's the good way to look at it is like, try to figure out how to make money first, because I think what a lot of people will try to do, and what I was doing almost, is like save your way to wealth. And I just think that's not the worst strategy. But if you're trying to get wealthy, like I want to pretty much be financially free in the next like 5 years, like mid-30s. Which might sound crazy to some people, but I think it's pretty realistic. But I think if you focus on your active income and not really change your expenses too much, like, I'm probably going to make double this year.
So, guys, I want to paint a picture for you because I live there and I met these guys. Homeboy lives in Scottsdale and Tempe. All these wholesalers there have the $1 million homes, the Lambos, the nice cars. And Ricky has a nice house and he's got a Toyota, but he's not trying to ball out. He's trying to, you live pretty simplistic.
Yeah. So like one thing I've done is like, I'm pretty much having increased my expenses from when I was making like $50,000 at Yelp like 5 years ago. Right. And like, this year I'll probably make over like 200. So if you're looking at kind of that spread, all of a sudden now you have so much more money just laying around, and then you could start reinvesting that into things. So it's like when, me and my business partner, we're kind of, building a new vertical in our business and starting to try to make some money off of helping other investors with marketing and things like that. And, if we need to spend 10 or 20 grand into this new business, like we have the money to do that. And even if it doesn't work, it's okay. Like, because we're going to
you just go get one wholesale in your back.
Right. It's not like, your life savings. And then you're always on the offense when you have, money, kind of sticking around compared to like saving up every last penny, not getting Starbucks every day, not, being super frugal. It's like, that's not the way to wealth. It's like, I didn't stop getting Starbucks, but I just didn't, like you said, I didn't buy a bunch of dumb shit because I got my whole life to do that. And it's like, I look at some of my friends, I think what helped too is like in real estate out here, like, in Phoenix, there's like some big dogs out here that are making real money.
Balling. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
Guys, I don't think you understand until you roll up into Phoenix and understand that some of these dudes are making $300K a month.
Yeah, straight up. Like, and that's like happening. And it's like, that's where I'd like to get to. But I just feel like until I'm on that level, it's like, I'm not trying to prove to anyone kind of like what I'm doing. It's like, just kind of like the fitness is like, stay in your lane. It's like, be consistent, like do the right things. And then all of a sudden in a year or two, you look up and it's like, oh, I got abs and a six pack. It's like, you look up and you're like, I got 8 different investment properties making passive income. Like, now's the time to maybe, if I want a nice car or do something, like pay for it from that way, but not just try to, take the money I'm making now and spend it on shit that's not going to make me money. Instead, I'd rather all the money I'm making now, it's like reinvest into the business, invest into coaching or different programs or different marketing avenues, and kind of really go all in on those things that can make me more money than, try to build this lifestyle that in all reality too, it's like, that's not the shit that makes you happy, right? It's like, it's not the car and the house and all that. It's I think doing your own thing and being in control of your own life. And like, I live a good ass life, dude. Like, you see me, I work out every day.
No. I want to, guys, I got to say it because he won't fucking say it. He told me something that I still get pissed about. True story, bro. I want you to describe them a typical day in your world. Like, and did we just had this talk like last week? You were people get mad at me. So tell them what you do on a typical day. And this is real, guys. This is not bullshit. Like, I've lived it with them, next to him. So tell them.
Yeah. Like right now, my typical day, probably for like the past few months, since like business we got our shit figured out, is usually wake up at like 6. Like, my business is on the East Coast for the most part. So 3-hour, 2-hour time difference. So usually wake up at 6, kind of, walk the dog, get my little morning routine in. And then I usually make sure marketing's going out for about an hour. I just check, our ads are going out, our cold callers are making calls, all our marketing lists are good. Check on my BA in the morning, make sure he's good. Look through some leads, make a couple phone calls. Like, there's usually only, like I said, we're only buying a couple deals a month. It's not, you're looking for those distressed situation leads. So I'll make those calls, couple text messages. And then usually by 9 a.m., I'm kind of like done for the day. And, it's like throughout the day then, phone calls will come up. Or, I mean, I love talking. Me and my business partner talk all the time about just new ideas, making money. Like, I love that. So that's like not even work for me. But as far as like once 9 a.m. usually rolls around, I look at my day and I'm like, dude, you can do whatever you want from here. Like, you got things done today. Like, everything's good. Like, if I feel like going to golf, I go and golf. Like, if I want to go to the gym, if I want to go on a hike, like, it's really, I think in like today's day and age, like, it's cool to like, grind all the time. And like, I work so hard and I don't sleep and like, I just work. But for me, I think it's cool of like, hey, like, it's not that like I can't work hard, and I do work hard when I need to. And I get my shit done. But I think it's cool to be able to be like, dude, I don't work a lot of hours. Like, I have a bunch of time, like, to do whatever I want. Like, I enjoy my time and I'm not stressed, and I have golf, I like to golf and I like to just work out and hang with my dog and do whatever. So yeah, I mean, usually working a few hours a day, and that's kind of the life I wanted to create, you know? So I think it's like, if that's the life you want to create, you kind of got to work backwards. And I think that's kind of what I did. It's like, how can I like open up a lot of time, make good money? Kind of real estate investing, the way I did it fell into place. I think sometimes people want that life, but then they decide that they want to like, you know, open up a restaurant or something. And it's like, well, dude, if you want a bunch of free time and, you know, just make like a, you know, a lot of money, like right off the bat, like probably doing that isn't your best way of doing it. So I think it's like finding the right vehicle. You don't have to love the vehicle. Like I love real estate, but like, it's not this like dying passion. Like, you know what I mean? Like I love golf, like for instance, right? That's like a passion of mine. It's not like that with real estate, but it's a really good asset. It's a good avenue for the life that I want. So I think that's important too. It's like people get, I think, too caught up in just like living out whatever dream they have, but it's not really, it doesn't create the life that they want.
No, 1,000%. I just had this with my coaching client this morning. He's like, well, I don't really love real estate, and I want to grow this business. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're looking at a 12-year growth to make profit. Like, focus on what you can make avenues so you can operate the business from a point, a position as offense is what you said. So super important. So I want to protect your time. How does people find out about you? How do they find about your business?
Yeah, definitely. You can follow me on Instagram at realestatericky _. You'll see a photo of me and Linney on top of Camelback.
Yeah.
But then on Facebook, follow Savannah Properties. So just Facebook /Savannah Properties, or follow us on Instagram at Savannah Properties NJ. Just to kind of see the flips that we're working on. We're going to start posting a lot of our rehabs and projects like stuff on that and get more involved there. And yeah, if you know, anyone listening, if you guys need help, we've done deals all over the country. So anyone need help with some deals or need funding or something like that, definitely hit me up. And, you know, we're down to take down deals anywhere where it makes sense.
I love it, my man. Well, guys, if you like this episode, make sure you send it out to your friends, guys. And we appreciate for listening. We'll see you next time. Thank you, my brother.
All right. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.